I'll just turn it over to you guys.
Yeah. We are. Woo! Yeah, absolutely. We realize it is 3 o'clock on a Friday, and so we are really excited to be here. You know, when Dustin gave us the opportunity to kind of co-sponsor what's happening here with the Tech Fest here in Indy, we were excited to do that. And so for the next hour and a half or so, hour and 45 minutes or so, we're going to dig into the Internet of Things. And so what we want to do is really, first off, though, tell you a little bit about a brief, but we're going to spend seriously like 10 minutes talking about what we do so that you guys have a perspective and kind of understand exactly what we do with the INDATA project and through Easterseals Crossroads. And so we can go on to the next slide there. These are going to be really bright because they're very white.
Wow.
So I don't want to blind anybody, but we are the INDATA project. We are one of 56 projects that do exactly what we do across the United States. So every state and every territory has a project just like ours. And so it was born out of a Technology-Related Assistance and Individuals with Disabilities Act back in 1998, I'm pretty sure. Was that? 1998. And reauthorized in 2004. And essentially it established 56 projects just like ours. Go ahead and do the next slide. Two things that we do, we talked about this earlier today. We spread the word and we get people's hands on technology. Go to the next slide. Here are the few ways that we do that as we spread and we talk about assistive technology. So first and foremost, information referral. If you guys have anybody who has an accommodation need, it doesn't matter what it is, if it's at work, at home, at school, or at play. We have an 800 number set up to be able to help people get connected. It's either a service that the INDATA can provide or a clinical can provide, or we will connect you to resources around the state to be able to kind of help you with those needs. We do AT hours, so we go out and do a lot of talks and provide hands-on assistive technology experiences for folks. So if you're parts of support groups or other kinds of things, we go out and we talk a lot about what assistive technology is, what it can do, how it can help folks. We do a lot with social media and podcasting. And we also put on 4 to 5 full-day trainings every year, absolutely free, and stream those across if you can't make it to Indy to be able to see those. Going to the next slide. When we talk about getting people's hands on technology, we do that in a variety of ways as well. I mentioned the lending library that we have. Our lending library, we have about 2,500 items. Could be a computer with adaptive technology. Could be one of the things we're going to be talking about today. It could be a ramp so that person can get in and out of their home. Folks can come, just like going to the library to check out a book, they can check out a piece of technology, borrow it for 30 days free of charge, let them try it out, make sure it's going to work for them, and then they can make that informed purchasing decision down the road. And so, lending library, lots of different devices in there. We will also do demonstrations along with the library. So someone on our staff will go to your door anywhere in the state of Indiana, take these things with them, and then be able to kind of spend 20 to 30 minutes giving you that test drive, showing you the bells and whistles, how it works, what it can do, and how it can meet the needs that you have. And then again, leave it with you for 30 days. Go to the next slide. We also do the depot. Disability is one of those things that oftentimes is degenerative in nature. And so sometimes we have individuals who may or may not need whatever device they're currently using, and so they maybe they get better, maybe they don't need that device anymore because their vision or something else has gotten better for them, or maybe things have digressed to a point where the technology they're currently using isn't meeting the need and they need something different, or a lot of times folks pass away and family members are left with technology that they don't know what to do with, and so what we do with the INDATA project is we do reuse. And so we will take that adaptive technology, we'll clean it up, wipe it, clean it up, and give it away to folks who have a need for that type of technology. And we work really hard to do that. In that, we also do computer recycling. And so we take donated computers, wipe them, clean them, put a fresh copy of Windows 10, put a fresh copy of Microsoft Office, and we'll put those back out into people's hands. Usually about 200 to 250 computers a year are recycled and given away to folks with disabilities throughout Indiana. Go to the next slide. Next thing we do is alternative financing. We realize a lot of folks don't have the resources or funding sources connected to them to be able to purchase their own assistive technology. And so We do an alternative financing program. It's a bank loan program. It's not a grant. It's a bank loan. Folks have to pay that back. But what they can do with that, they can borrow anywhere from $500 to $35,000. So they can purchase an iPad with an app, or they can go in and remodel their kitchen, their bathroom, put a lift in their van, do those kinds of things. And what we do, it's through Star Financial. It's an Indiana-based bank out of Fort Wayne. We will underwrite that loan to them and then extend those terms out and also give them very low interest. So if you put something on a credit card, you run 18 to 19% interest. The loans that we put out there through Star Financial usually run around 3% of an interest rate. Spread it out over a long period of time, make those payments more affordable for folks, and help them, again, build credit as they borrow money to be able to purchase technology that could be really helpful for them. Next one. And then we got clinical, and I'm going to let Josh talk about clinical because Josh is the manager of our clinical program.
Finally. Can you guys all hear me okay? Okay, good. Oh, thank you so much. So my name is Josh Anderson. I run our clinical assistive technology program. First of all, thank you guys all for staying late. Dustin did say he'd give away a free Amazon Echo to everyone that stays. Is that right? Demonstration, a free Amazon Echo demonstration. Sorry, my bad. Whew, darn it. So our clinical assistive technology program is the other side of our AT program. This is the part of our services that goes out and works with folks one-on-one. So we work with a lot of people with vocational goals at work, at school, and help them achieve those goals by implementing assistive technology. We do one-on-one evaluations, figure out exactly what that person needs, recommend that equipment, do any training involved with it, as well as 24-hour support, and a bunch of other things that's hard telling. We actually cover the entire state of Indiana and cover every disability and folks in any age group that might need that kind of help. I know Daniel said that AT is just a Band-Aid, but it's a very important Band-Aid, so he's not here anymore to hear that part of that thing.
Right.
But we do, in qualifications, most of us are RESNA certified, almost the whole team now. We also have people with CADA certifications, certified ergonomist.
Ergonomist?
Close enough.
Yep.
Back people. And we do a very multi-sensory, multidisciplinary approach to our services. So, Can you guys all read that? I'm kidding.
Yeah. I just think it's important. We've been doing assistive technology in Indiana for a long time. Since 1979, we've been doing this kind of stuff. In 2007 is when we started the INDATA project and partnered with the state to be able to kind of bring those wraparound services. So clinical is fee for service. It's comprehensive in nature. INDATA is absolutely free. Everything INDATA does is free. It helps those folks who aren't connected, again, with the resources like vocational rehabilitation or other places that would provide funding for assistive technology supports.
And clinical uses INDATA a lot, as far as the loan library and other services to help our folks as well.
All right. So today, in this last presentation, we just want to spend a little bit of time digging into the Internet of Things, because really that's kind of the next. We look at the horizon of assistive technology a lot, and we kind of see this Internet of Things as kind of the buzzword, lots of internet-connected devices. And so really want to dig into what is it, and really why should we care about it? Because it is pretty interesting and innovative in what it can do for folks. And so the first thing, when you think about the Internet of Things, you have to start with the Internet, right? The Internet is where it all starts, and it starts there and it ends there. But really, when you think about the Internet was officially out there. I mean, it was there before the 1990s, but it's been around since then, publicly and available for folks. And really, the Internet, as it was designed, was created by people and for people. It was about communication. It was about transferring information about books and images and games, and really kind of connecting people just to really other people. And then, really, I would argue that the Internet in our modern age is one of those most important and most transformative technologies that really we've ever had. It really transformed the world we live in because it makes stuff so readily available to each other. I mean, Google is now a verb. It wasn't a verb back in the day, but you can literally find information on anything by typing in a few key search words and hitting the enter key. It has really transformed the world we live in. And so with the Internet, something really interesting happened in 2008. And so in 2007, the iPhone came out. really kind of the world's first smartphone. And in 2008, literally just a year later, one of the things that happened was it was discovered that more devices were connected to the internet than anything else. More devices were connected to the internet than there were people in the world. And so, literally kind of shocked me a little bit, because now I go through my house and I try to figure out how many internet-connected devices I have in my house. And literally, I went through a couple days ago, and I've got somewhere between 30 and 40 internet-connected devices. When you think about each of my kids have a smartphone, so I got 2 daughters, a junior and a freshman in high school. They've got smartphones. My wife and I have smartphones. We've all got computers. We have streaming TV. We have smart appliances and different things in our home that all connect to the internet. And way back in 2008, that's when that whole trend and more devices than there were people in the world are now connected to the internet. And that allowed a couple of different things to happen. Once you had more devices connected to the internet, it was all about now creating data. We were able to create lots and lots of data. In fact, I heard a statistic today that every day there are 2.5 quintillion bytes of information created by the Internet of Things and sent to the cloud or sent up. That's the amount of data created every day by all of us using our devices and transporting it up to the cloud and up there with all that information. Any guesses on how much really 2.5 quintillion bytes is equivalent to? I don't suppose you guys have any guesses. That's a lot of information.
Very, very good, Brian. That's
if you have 2.5 quintillion pennies, you could cover the world 5 times with 2.5 quintillion pennies. Or you could fill out 10 million DVDs with 2.5 quintillion bytes. Or 10 million DVDs, which is the height stacked up, it would equal the height of 4 Eiffel Towers stacked up with all of that data. And really what happens with that data is now what they've started to do is they've connected things to other things. We're creating environments where things are now starting to be able to share experiences with other. And so if something is happening over here, there's a bit of data that then says, it seems kind of odd that what happens over here and then over here, they're somehow related. And so they're starting to share experiences, and we're learning and understanding things in a different way because now things are actually able to start communicating with each other. Again, providing large amounts of data about what's going on in the world around us, and it's allowing us to detect trends and patterns around us so that we can then make better informed decisions on what's happening around us. And so the Internet of Things is really quite spectacular in what it's able to allow us to do by collecting a lot of data, detecting trends, and helping better inform our decisions. One of the things that I find interesting is when you think about the Internet of Things, you don't necessarily, or the world, I don't think really thinks about people with disabilities. A lot of times you're going to hear things like logistics and other kinds of big business types of terms when you think about the Internet of Things. But I'm kind of, coming from the disability perspective, I'm intrigued, and I just see so many opportunities that the Internet of Things can do and open up for folks with disabilities because of the interconnectedness that these things have and allowing us to better inform our decisions. So let's talk about how this all works. And so the first thing is, when you think about the Internet of Things, you've given things the ability to sense what's going on around them, to be able to communicate, to be able to touch, and to be able to control the things around them. And so when you think about that, think about it the way that we think about it as humans. We connect in all of those different ways. We are able to communicate and interact with each other using our 5 senses. So we can see, we can hear, we can smell, we can touch, we can taste. Now imagine that just the same thing can happen with a thing. There are so many different types of sensors out there that actually will provide you that real-time data. They can tell you if your water's running. They can tell you if someone's moving in your house. There's all sorts. They can hear. I have a camera in my house. Every time my dog barks, which is a lot each and every day, it sends me a notification that says, hey, I think I hear a dog in your office, which is where our front window is. And so it can hear all of these different things. And what they've done is really been able to give things the ability to kind of sense what's happening around them. And I think the benefits that we'll find, and as we dig into some of this, hopefully this will become evident to you, the benefits of these things are A, increased productivity. Obviously, we're able to save time and money. We're able to easier control our environment. We can improve health and safety. And we can make better decisions because we have things helping us inform our decision making. And then ultimately, and again, where I kind of live and where I think we as Easterseals, and I believe Disability Cocoon and all of us live, is we want to help the folks that we work with be as independent as they can be. It's all about independence. How can we help people be as independent in their daily lives as they can be? And so I think that's just really, really, there's a whole lot there that would be beneficial for folks. Now, the greatest example of IoT that I think we can talk about would be our smartphones. I think someone raised their, how many of you guys have smartphones? I would guess everybody does.
You can start asking who doesn't.
Who doesn't have one? How many have Apple? How many have Apple? Raise your hands. How many have Android? Okay.
How many have Windows?
Windows? Anybody?
Darn it, there's usually one.
All right, so what I find fascinating about phones is it does a lot for you. The first thing is, I think we take for granted what these things are in our pockets. We really don't think about all of the technology that's packed in such a mobile device that we can carry around in our pockets, that we can put in our purses. The first thing is it knows exactly where you are at any given moment. So it's got a GPS on it, and within a relatively safe amount of distance, it knows exactly where you are in the world today. It knows if you're moving, and it can tell how fast you're moving because it's got an accelerometer built into it as well. It knows how you're holding it, if it's upside down or upside right, because it's got a gyroscope built into it. It's how it kind of flips that screen around for you. It can tell you how much light is in the room. Anybody ever notice that when you're in a lighted up room, when I've got one of these white screens up here, your phone can sometimes dim itself? It's sensitive to those types of things. It knows what you're saying to it. It knows what's around you. Yelp and several of these other apps kind of look around me and tell me where I might want to go grab dinner, all of those other kinds of things. And then what makes it an Internet of Things is it communicates on a network. It's tied to a cellular network, and all of that data, all of those things are being put up into the cloud or into a network, and it's going to inform the different things that we do. So smartphones are one of the most basic these days items of smart technology. What I find fascinating, though, too, is smartphones are arguably one of the most accessible devices ever made because they were built from the bottom up with accessibility in mind a lot of times. And I used to say 5 years ago, the most accessible smartphone was an Apple phone. And I'm no longer in that boat because Android has caught way, way up, and I would say they're about neck and neck with where they go with accessibility. And a lot of the folks that I meet with, no longer is it this big dedicated device that's their number one assistive technology tool. It's their phone. It's what's in their pocket because it can do all sorts of things that really can help in their daily lives and help them be more independent. A couple of real practical, real-life use cases in the Internet of Things. The first would be health. Health is one of those things where, I don't know about you, but when I go to the doctor, I sit there on that uncomfortable paper-covered table or whatever, and I sit there and I try to explain to my doctor exactly how I feel, and I never, ever feel like I completely give him the full picture about how I feel. Well, now there are IoT health devices out there that can take real-time measurements of what your blood pressure is, what your heartbeat is, all of these different things, and they can provide real-time data back to the doctors that can then help them better inform just how to take care of you and the different types of medications and things like that that you would need. And so health is a big, big real-life use case for the Internet of Things. Obviously, environmental controls are important. So we're going to spend most of our time looking at some of the smart home, smart speaker types of technologies. When I first started 22 years ago at Easterseals Crossroads, an environmental control system was upwards of $10,000, $15,000, sometimes $20,000, depending on the number of things you wanted to control. And it wasn't all that easy because you had to invite someone into your home to do an assessment to figure out exactly what you needed to connect. You'd have to also have them back out to your house for a couple of weeks to get everything installed because everything was wired up and was using infrared and radio connections, X10 modules, those kinds of things. It was a really expensive proposition. Well, nowadays, with smart speakers and smart plugs and smart appliances, that's a lot less expensive than it's ever been. And really, it's a DIY world when you think about some of these things. And you can buy most of the stuff at big box hardware stores, office supply stores, and other types of places. And so environmental controls is another real-life use case. The other thing is security and safety. I think that's important for everybody. But especially for folks with disabilities. If you have a home health attendant or care attendant coming in the morning, making sure that you know who's coming through my front door is going to be really important. And for you to be able to let them in and out on your own would be very, very helpful. Most of the folks I know stick a key underneath the mat or under a rock or in a flower pot or something like that. Well, now there are smart cameras that you can stick outside your home. I have a couple of them in my house. And when my daughters get home from school, they sit there and they just wave their hand. And I get a notification on my phone that says, hey, I see someone in your family room. And I go ahead and I pull it up. I can see them. They can see me. I can wave. I can actually have a conversation back and forth with them. There's communication there. And so safety and security is also a big, big thing when you think about real-life use cases. So what does the future hold with this types of stuff? IoT predictions in 2020, I don't know if you guys can see that all that well, but they say that there's currently, right now, there are 10 billion devices, or 1.5 devices per person. In the year 2020, there'll be 50 billion devices, and that's 8 internet-connected devices per person. And so the industry is moving in that direction where more and more things are being connected to the internet. It's automotive, healthcare, consumer electronics, and utilities. All of these things are being connected, again, to be able to better inform when you think about electronics, where the power grid sends its power at different times of the day. It's got things that are sensing about where that power needs to go to be able to connect those things. And then along with the Internet of Things, we also have wearables. Wearables are a piece of those technologies, things that folks can wear. Eyewear, wristbands, tokens, clip-ons, different types of jewelry. There's footwear, hearables, attachable cameras, and smartwatches, all types of wearable devices, again, connected to the internet, putting information up into the network to be able to then better inform other types of technologies and decisions. When we think about this all, though, I think the easiest thing for us to get up is really just to get up and kind of show a bunch of really cool things that took us, probably an hour and a half to set up. And we can wow a lot of folks. But I think we have to be careful on how we approach things. Because really, you've got to be prepared for the journey. Setting someone up with this technology can take some time. You really got to get to know the person. Figure out exactly what they want to control and what's going on with that person. It doesn't happen overnight. Sometimes you need to start small and gradually add things to what they're doing. There's lots of concerns about security, data privacy, making sure that things are secure in a way that folks aren't able to kind of, with cameras in your home, take control of those and be able to see you without you knowing or wanting them to. So there's a lot about security there as well. And so again, as we jump into this, it's a journey. It's really only begun. It changes all the time. This technology up here changes all the time. But again, it's gotten to the point where it's really, really good and able to do a whole lot for folks. So I'm going to let Josh jump in here. And we're going to jump into some smart home technologies.
So smart home technologies and things that can help people with disabilities. One thing from that last slide that wasn't on there, one thing that's important for all this stuff is a good Wi-Fi connection. In fact, I think this is the first time we've set all this stuff up and it actually worked. So, and that even counts at Crossroads, doing it there on the Wi-Fi. We knew still something screwed up because the Wi-Fi wasn't right. So good job, guys. This is the first time. Now I say that, something will mess up now that I said it, but that's probably Brian's fault. But for people with disabilities, why is this stuff important and how can it do it? Well, I can control my environment. You know, if you think about a thermostat, be it the, tiny little wheel one or the one with the dial and everything, A, it's usually about this high. And B, it takes some pretty fine motor control to get that. If I can control that with my voice or with an app, it makes it a lot easier. I could have my device read books, tell me jokes, access the internet, watch movies, TV. I can make phone calls from it, create lists, set alerts, reminders, kind of like we talked earlier about, I need an alarm clock for someone with no usable vision. Well, it used to be, you could get a pretty decent little plastic clock that might work for 20, 30 bucks, or for 50 bucks, 60 bucks, you could get a pretty good one. For like $30, you can get a little dot that every time you ask it the time, it tells you, and can do a lot more stuff. And information retrieval, so I can get weather, I can get traffic info, I can know when someone's coming over, just all kinds of information I can get just really with using my voice or by adapting a few other things, maybe with the touch of a button. So we'll start off with the Amazon Echo, which is probably the most popular just because it was the very first one to come out. There's all kinds of iterations of it. I don't know if you can kind of see them all up there, but there's a bunch of them over here too. There's the Dot, which is the small one. I think it's on second or third generation now. You can pick them up around Christmas for like $20, I think. Some places give them away for free when you do stuff. Dustin apparently isn't. Sorry. This is the last time he'll let us present with
That's
them.
right.
Other Echoes, of course, are a little bit larger. Now, really, these two do the exact same thing. The difference is the speaker. In fact, they even make an Echo now that is just the listening device. You connect it to your own Bluetooth speaker. So it doesn't even have the speaker connected to it at all. There's also ones with screens. There's the Spot, which Brian has now, which there's nothing on the screen, so it's really hard to tell what's going on there. There you go. So it's got kind of a smaller screen, and then there's the larger Show. And where those are nice is you can do video calls through them. You can see cameras on them. Also, for folks who, oh, that's not yet. Never mind. I don't want to jump the gun. But really what these do is they're a hands-free virtual assistant. They pull all these other devices together. Again, you can make calls, send messages, check your calendar, order items, tell jokes, all these kind of things. Why did Amazon originally make it? So you could order stuff off Amazon without even having to open your computer. That's the real reason it was originally made, but then it could do all these other cool things too. And you can do it with just saying the A word, which we'll say here in a minute, because otherwise they'll all start talking to us and it gets really loud and annoying. So what's really cool about the the Show and the Spot is you can actually have a touch interface on there. So if I cannot speak or if I'm deaf or hard of hearing, I can just push buttons to do the same thing that somebody could do with their voice. So I can still set an alarm, a timer, check the weather, the news, and it will show up there on the screen as opposed to giving me that audio feedback.
Right. We find that the folks at Amazon, at Google, they are looking at these devices as devices for folks with disabilities, and they will listen to you when you have suggestions or comments. The Tap to Alexa was directly related to, we have our counterparts in Georgia at Georgia Tech University, the AT Act in Georgia, specifically met with folks at Amazon and said, we have individuals who are deaf and hard of hearing, and they have difficulty saying or interacting with it because they can't hear it when it speaks back to them. They're having a difficulty getting her to recognize their voice because of the difficulties with speech, and they went ahead and then designed Tap to Alexa, which is an interface for it. So they will listen to, and we're finding that's a common trend. They're more and more receptible to feedback and being able to put some of these things in for folks with disabilities.
Mm-hmm. The next one to come out was Google Home. So Google Home has different sizes as well. I do believe they actually have one with a screen now that's a lot like the Show. I believe it has, the hub. It has some of the same interfaces and everything. So it's a lot like Alexa, but it's powered by Google. So we've found the Google Home, really, if you just want to ask it questions, learn things, that kind of stuff, it does a little bit better. The Echo, just being around a little bit longer, seems to control a little bit more. And I don't know, as far as easy setup, I'd say the Echo's still a little easier to set up, but they're not bad. As far as yep, they're definitely comparable. And then Apple, for the first time probably ever, was the very last one in the game. They kind of came in last with the HomePod, which is big and heavy.
It's a great speaker.
But it's a great speaker. It really doesn't do as much as the others, though. And it's more expensive than all the other ones. But sound-wise, if you're doing it just for sound, it's really, really cool. But as far as all the other stuff, it doesn't do as good. Oh, good, you can't read it. It says Echo Show. That's not what that is. This is the Dash Wand. And I don't know if you guys have ever seen the Dash Wand, but where this can be really helpful, especially for somebody with a disability, maybe, or it could be really bad for someone with a disability. What I can do is I can go through my kitchen, scan barcodes with this thing, and it adds it straight to my shopping list, or orders it right off Amazon for me. I don't even have to go to a computer. I don't have to really do anything except for just scan it, push a button on it, and it sends it right straight over there. That can be really useful if you're sending it to a list. Really bad, I guess, if my 10-year-old grabbed it and grabbed the cupcakes and just kept scanning. So I can see how it could definitely be a bad thing. But think how easy that would be to just go through the kitchen and be like, oh, almost out of milk. Boop, order it. So you can actually get those things and have those delivered right straight to your house. It will also give you recipes. So if you go through, you can go, instead of ordering stuff, scan something, and it can give you recipes on how to use those. So I know when I used to be a bachelor and you only have, crackers and ketchup, maybe it'll tell you how to make poor man pizza or whatever they used to call it back those days. The Echo Look we don't have, but this is kind of like the, the visual best friend. You put on clothes and it tells you how you look in them. Sounds awful. but
exactly.
And I gotta admit, I have no idea how exactly it works, but it will actually let you know if your clothes match, or if they fit right, or if you look nice. Again, I don't know whose opinion it is, but it's a pretty cool idea. I could really think how somebody, especially with a severe visual impairment, this would be very helpful. If you've ever worked with folks with visual impairments, color identifiers don't work at all. The color is almost completely dependent on light. So what looks black in a dark room might actually be, almost a light purple in another room. So this could be something really helpful to be able to tell folks what it is they're wearing and how that kind of looks. So I'm going to let Brian play with the device a little bit. Now remember, don't control all the devices yet. That's later.
Cool. Do you
don't
want to
steal
open and
all
close the microwave over there?
Say what?
Open and close that microwave.
Okay.
Yeah, so what you would see on here are, you can really use these intelligent personal assistants to do all sorts of things. It's just, again, not just to control your environment. We find a lot of people who may have developmental disabilities, maybe they're older, they're in their home. It's a socialization tool as well. You can ask them just really about anything, and they're going to give you a response. They can be fun, they can be engaging, really kind of interesting devices. And so, just for example, Alexa, how are you doing today?
I'm feeling really groovy. Got some rhymes flowing through me.
Excellent. Alexa, sing me a song.
Yo, MCAI in the cloud, yeah? Get it! Check out my crib, yo, it's the cloud. Check out my ride, yo, it's the cloud. Not making it rain, but it's the cloud. Reporting the rain, weather's in the cloud. Keeping your calendar, giving you reminders, making your list, being Pathfinder, dropping the single and rapping it proud. Your friendly AI, here in the cloud.
Okay. So it can sing you songs. I can say,
Not
Alexa,
well, but it can sing songs.
Alexa, tell me a dad joke.
Your father's cooking is so good. He was voted gourmet of his town.
Excellent. Nice. You can also, let's think about leaving here today, figuring out what I need to wear today. Should I put a coat on? Should I not? Is it going to rain? Is it not? You can ask it what the weather's like. Alexa, what's the temperature outside?
Right now, it's 59 degrees. Tonight, expect a low of 47 degrees.
So I'm telling you what the temperature is. You can also control things all over your environment. And so I think we're going to kind of look at some of that. But what's that? Is that a little later?
Yeah, it's all later.
Oh, that's all later.
You're stealing slides.
But anyways, you can do a whole bunch. The other thing I don't think you necessarily might realize, but you can also make phone calls now. You don't have to have a phone in your home. You can actually call an Alexa to an Alexa, or you can call just any number you want. And so, Alexa, call 317-466-1000. This is the administrative assistant.
466-1000.
We'll hang up as soon as, this is our administrative assistant back at Crossroads.
Oh, it's the interim one.
Good afternoon, Easterseals Crossroads. How may I help you?
Hi, this is Brian Norton. I was just calling to test out our Amazon Alexa. Thanks so much. She's like, oh, yeah, cram that down. But anyways, you can call someone. If they have an Alexa show at their end, I think Kylie mentioned this earlier. I think her sibling has one of these devices, and she also does. You can do video conferencing back and forth with individuals. There's so much you can do packed into these little devices. There's really a whole lot of application for folks. Socialization, controlling their environment, a lot of the things we talked about. And so, let's see what we got next. So specifically with smart homes, if you would see this, really there are smart devices everywhere in your home. It could be, really controls everything in your environment. Let's go to the next slide, because we're going to dig down into these a little bit. What's that?
Kidding. I was joking about the slide.
So one of the first things, and one of the easiest things to get started with the intelligent personal assistants and controlling your environment are smart plugs. And smart plugs, the devices themselves, we mentioned Amazon Echo Dots are usually $49.99, but at Christmas you can get them as cheap as $24.99. Very inexpensive. There are lots of smart plugs that look a lot like this. These are plugs that really just connect to the internet, and they allow your device to be able to communicate back and forth with them. Anywhere from $15 to $30, depending on the manufacturer and other kinds of things, but really easy to use and control. So for instance, I plugged all of these different kinds of things into one of them, and so I could say, Alexa, turn on disco ball. Alexa, turn on disco ball.
Okay.
Here we go. So that's connected to one. Alexa, turn on fan.
Okay.
Alexa, turn on John.
Okay.
So my light over here in the corner is going to go on. What's cool about that is you can name it anything you want. And we find a lot of times for folks with disabilities, being able to produce a speech to say light or something like that. I think you mentioned that earlier. We've got John over here. We've got Mike over there. You can name them really whatever you want. And so controlling appliances like this is really easy. Those are about 10 minutes of setup. Once you have your device, you can go in. These are Amazon. I've got the Amazon plugs. So you just scan a barcode, you plug them in, you connect. It automatically connects to the internet, and then you're off and you're running with it. Once you go to the next one, I'm going to go turn these off. Alexa, turn disco ball off.
So while Brian's talking to her, if you don't want to get the plugs and everything like that, there are actually light bulbs themselves that are Wi-Fi connected. So these are LED light bulbs, usually come in different
Turn off
colors.
is not supported currently, but you can ask to hide the camera. Try saying hide front porch.
All right, never mind. She's going to yell at him for a second and over-talk me. You got it?
Alexa, turn fan off.
Okay.
There you go.
Perfect. And there's all different kinds of light bulbs. I have one sitting around here somewhere. They come in different colors, different shades, everything else. Some of them even have speakers built into them, so you can have your sound come right straight through your appliances. These will screw into just a normal lamp that you have, but then you can control them by your voice. So, you could say, and we don't have any of them actually in right now, but you could say, hey, lady, dim the lights. Or you can even do movie mode or things like that, which will actually just dim them. I've known folks with different disabilities, RP, which is retinitis pigmentosa, very susceptible to changes in light. So if it's very dark outside, as they walk into their house, their device knows that their phone's there, they know they're there, the device knows that it's sunny outside, so it turns on the lights bright. So that when they walk in, they don't have that big change to a dark room. Same thing, if they get home late, it will actually sit there and dim those lights way down so they're not walking into a super bright room, and then it can slowly bring them up. So very smart, and you can teach them to do a whole lot of different stuff. Kind of talking about, and the Harmony remote, which is over here, we don't actually have it connected, does a lot of different stuff with recipes, which I think Brian will talk about a little bit later on. Essentially, it's a remote. It's got a touch screen on it, very fancy looking and everything, but I can make it do different skills. So I could push one button and have my lights dim and my TV turn on and maybe romantic music play or something like that. Not that that's the thing you'd really do, but you can also have it control air conditioning and anything like that. Or I can just use it as a regular old remote. Where this can be helpful for some folks is sometimes learning new technology isn't people's forte, so being able to use something they're used to might be a little bit easier. Do you want to talk about the actual TV stuff over there?
Yeah, absolutely.
Since it's yours.
Over here we have the just a regular little TV. We've got a couple of different things. I've got Fire Stick connected to the back, but you can get Chromecasts as well. A lot of your TVs are connected, smart connected TVs nowadays, so you can voice activate them. So it'll come up here in just a second. And you can just tell it what to do. So open Hulu. It's going to go ahead and open Hulu for us. If you're connected to that, you could say, and I don't know if my Hulu's connected, but we'll try. Seems like you're not at home. So it probably won't work, but you could then from there say, turn on ESPN, or turn on HGTV, or turn on ABC, if you've got the local channels brought through those. But again, now at that point, through Chromecast and some of these streaming TV services, they give you voice remotes, and then you're able to then activate and operate your phone, or your TV by changing channels, turning up the volume, and those kinds of things. And they can be connected to the dots. So if you don't have the dexterity or fine motor control to be able to operate a remote like this, you can then run them through your Amazon devices as well. So really easy to be able to use a phone, or use your TV to be able to make that stuff happen for you.
And I was talking to somebody who sets up these systems, and they said, a lot of times with folks with disabilities, we don't think about entertainment and those little things like that, but what happens if they have the remote, maybe it's on the chair, it falls on the floor, they can't get to it, and the attendant isn't back for 2 hours, and they're stuck watching Maury Povich for 2 straight hours or something of that sort. Unless you like Maury. I'm not saying it's bad, but they're stuck watching something they don't want for 2 hours.
Never want to do that.
Yeah, nobody wants to do that. But with this way, just with their voice, they could sit there and kind of change it. Mm-hmm. We talked a lot about remote monitoring and those kind of things today. Mm-hmm. Brian, like you said, remote monitors his children at home. But there's all kinds of different small Wi-Fi enabled cameras that you can put in your house. Some are even much smaller than that. These are probably some of the more popular ones, the Nest Cams. They come with indoor, outdoor. They have two-way communication with them so that you can talk to them. You can turn them on to be motion enabled, so as soon as something walks by it, or like Brian's, whenever his dog barks, it'll get enabled and give him an alert. Do we want to look at your cameras?
Sure, yeah. So I've got several of these at my house. And again, think about folks who are letting folks in and out of their house. Because I have the screen, I have the Alexa show up here, I can actually bring up my kitchen camera. So, Alexa, show kitchen camera.
Okay.
It's going to go ahead and bring up a picture of my live view of my kitchen.
I always hope we see something fun.
So there's my kitchen. I don't know if you guys can see that from here, but again, when my daughters come through, again, motion detection. It can tell if it's a person, or it says it might see a dog, or it hears a dog, or it hears a person. I'm in my home. I'm getting alerts on my phone with that stuff. Alexa, show garage camera.
Okay.
And now I'm seeing inside my garage. I've got one at my front porch. I got one in my office. Those kinds of things. Safety and security, really simple to use, because now I can either connect it through the Amazon that has a screen, or I have an app now on my phone or an app on my iPad that allows me to see those things as well. I can just pop in and pop out as needed to be able to kind of see what's going on, or if there's something disturbing maybe happening at my house, I'm alerted to that fact.
And that can help in a lot of ways. So if you think if I'm the individual with the disability, I can't get to another room quickly, I can see what's going on in that room. Or if I don't need full-on remote monitoring, mom, dad, caregiver, whoever can have peace of mind because they can look in at any time and even talk to me. Hey, what are you doing in the kitchen again? Or, those kind of things. Not that that's what they'd say. But. Kind of along those same lines, we can see who's at the door now without actually having to go to the door or without even having to be home. So Ring makes doorbells, Nest makes their own doorbells now. Isn't one of them owned by Amazon now?
Nest is.
They bought Nest, okay. So with these doorbells, they have a little tiny screen or a little tiny camera built in. So most of them are motion sensor too. So whenever somebody even gets close or on your front porch or kind of breaks that plane out there, you'll know that somebody's at the door. But as soon as they ring that doorbell, it will turn on that camera on all of them. And then you can actually talk back and forth. So you can even say, why are you here? Or go to the back door, or anything that you kind of want. But that can be really helpful, like Brian said, because you have those individuals who were hiding the key under the mat or anything like that, or even giving out a code. That's really great, but it's been talked about a lot today about all the turnover with DSPs. So just think about everyone has that door code, then they're not there anymore. You have a new person every day. This way you'll know exactly who's at that door. And a lot of times these can be integrated with Open Sesame systems and those kind of things to unlock the door and actually open it and let folks in. Oh, speaking of locks.
Yeah. So again, locks, it doesn't have to be smart like cameras at your doorbell and those kinds of things. You can actually have locks that will open up either through an app-enabled locks. And so Schlage and Kwikset are a couple of the ones. Those you can find just about anywhere at your hardware stores. Schlage and Kwikset design app-enabled locks that you can then simply, if you see who's at your door, you can unlock the door yourself and let somebody in. And then once they're in, you can lock it back up. And so really easy, both are supported by Echo and Google Home. Really easy to be able to control locks and doors within your home and around your home very, very easily through an app-enabled door lock.
And some of these can be opened too just by waving your phone in front of it. So if you think,
Right.
Trying to actually turn a key or turn a lock can be a little bit harder, whereas maybe if I can just get my phone, or even if it's connected to my chair or something like that, as long as I can get it up close to that via Bluetooth, it can unlock that door for me. Kind of on the safety side still, they do make all kinds. This is the Nest Protect, but they make all kinds of different carbon monoxide smoke detectors, fire alarms, and all those kind of things. These can be helpful in all different ways. One, it could send an alert to somebody who's not in the home. So if the individual is there, maybe their parents, caregiver, somebody else needs to know. These are also really helpful for folks who are deaf and hard of hearing, just because it doesn't really help to have a big, loud fire alarm, or even if it's a light, if it's in a different room, it's not going to help me. This will send an alert right to my phone, so I can have that vibration and know that something is happening.
You also have smart thermometers. These are kind of interesting. They've been around for a while. Anybody have a Nest in their house? Nest thermometer. So Nest thermometers and these other ones, ecobee would be the other one we've got highlighted up there. These are self-learning thermostats. I was going to say thermometers. They're not thermometers. Thermostats. Self-learning thermostats. And so they're really interesting, and they learn your patterns of living. And so a lot of times thermostats in your homes are located in places where they're high traffic areas. And so as you kind of move through your home, they can detect if someone's in the home. It senses motion and will auto-adjust temperatures based on, do I think someone's present or do I think they're gone? So it'll actually adjust. You can set a lower threshold or a higher threshold based on if you're in and around the home at all. But again, really packed full of a lot of technology to help them learn and sense and make good decisions on the use of power and energy around your home to be able to kind of help you kind of make personalized temperature settings in and around where you're going. And so huge time money saver because it's saving energy when you're not there, but personalizing it for you based on what it's sensing around itself. What's the temperature? Do I need to go up or down? Is someone home? Is someone not home? Really, really helpful ways to be able to kind of monitor temperatures within your home. And they're Alexa enabled, right? So you can tell it, I want it to set it at 70 degrees. So set my thermometer to 70 degrees will actually then bring that up to a certain threshold. So now you can voice control that as well. So.
Do you want to do the vacuum?
Sure, yeah. And so, again, everything is voice enabled, right? So we have a Roomba over here. Roomba, anybody have a smart vacuum over here? Do you like it? Love it. We have a coworker who has one, and she swears by it because she can, from anywhere, go ahead and tell it to turn on and go ahead and vacuum her house. And so over here, we'll go ahead and let it start. This is kind of a fun little guy, but we'll go ahead and just have him start. He'll start moving around here in a second. But it actually has bumpers on it, so as it gets into a new environment, it'll actually try to figure out where things are by bumping into things, and it'll actually eventually learn what you have in your room and start to kind of vacuum around those kinds of things. Is it working? There you go.
There it goes.
And so it'll start falling around, trying to bump into things here in a minute. But again, learning and kind of where things are in your home, being able to vacuum while you're not away, cleaning while you're not away. Eventually, if the battery runs low, it goes back to its dock to recharge itself so it knows where it came from. Or I can simply just tell it to go home. And it should go ahead and reverse itself and find its way back to its house. Or it'll eventually. We'll probably lose it here today, but as it keeps going around. But anyway, smart vacuuming. So you can voice enable your vacuum. You can then also just be able to keep a clean house while you're not around.
So there's also smart, I'll wait till Brian finishes wrestling that. There you go. And you can always just pick it up and carry it back over to the charger, which sometimes works too. They also make fun toys for animals. If you have cats or dogs at home, they seem to really like them. There's also smart things for the kitchen, and we'll kind of show you a few of these. We're never actually going to take a smart refrigerator with us. There is a video for this, but I don't think I'm going to play it because I don't know how well it'll show up on here. Okay. You know what I mean? Yep. But anyway, with a smart refrigerator, essentially the idea of it is the whole side is a gigantic touch screen, and you can actually see inside it. So you just touch the screen, it's got a little camera in there, it'll show you exactly what's in there. You can put what groceries you have in there, put what groceries you take out, you can draw on it, just like a kid would normally, just draw on a regular one. Make fake magnets, you can have your your calendar, all that information up there. Pretty much anything you can do from a smart device or a tablet can all be done right here on this. You can stream music, you can sync with family members. If you drink the last of the milk, you can say, I need milk, and it'll put it right there, so hopefully the next person doesn't open it but can see that. And there's all kinds of things that it can do. We're going to just skip that because there's no sound anyway.
So appliances.
Appliances.
We brought one with us. We have our smart microwave over here. And so you can get ovens, you can get dishwashers, you can get washers and dryers, coffee makers, really just about anything can be bought that's smart and connected to an Alexa. And so over here we've got our microwave. I've got a bag of popcorn in there, and I'll say, Alexa, microwave for 2 minutes. Alexa, microwave for 2 minutes.
2 minutes.
It's going to go ahead and go and pop my popcorn for me. And so really, again, using the Alexa to be able to connect smart appliances and, again, be able to use your voice. And what's kind of neat about this stuff, I know we're talking about voice activating a lot, and you might realize a lot of folks with disabilities may not have great breath control or voice control, but the Alexa app is on the iPad or on your phone, and your phone can be switch activated, right? So anybody who has one consistent movement, if you can blink your eye, you can wiggle your big toe, move your head side to side, you can use a switch on your phone to control the Alexa app, which has all of these devices listed in there to be able to turn them on or off or activate them any way you want. And so it's very easy to control these things without voice as well.
And, I mean, the nice thing about the smart kitchen appliances is if you have someone that wants to be independent, but maybe, one of their goals is to not snack as much, not, only eat at certain times. You can get alerts when the refrigerator's open, alerts when the stove started, alerts when the stove's left on, or the microwave's used, all those different kinds of things. And like Brian said, I think at the beginning, all this stuff used to be possible, but it cost thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars to be able to build all these sensors and implement. And now it's stuff that you can just go and buy at most kind of Home Depots and hardware stores. Don't burn, microwave. Otherwise, we'll make this much shorter. Also, Wi-Fi enabled garage door openers. I don't know about anyone else. I don't park in my garage anymore because of the house we bought, but used to be I would make it halfway to work and sometimes go back home because I thought I left my garage door open and it would bother me all day long, which is more my problem, not yours. But with this, you can actually sit there and just from an app, of course, if you're in the house, you can always use your device, but you can sit there and actually open and close your garage door, which for me, I think sounds absolutely awesome. It smells really good, by the way. And there's a video for that, but we're going to go ahead and skip that guy too. There's tons of other Internet of Things devices. So these are kind of a little bit stranger ones. Do you have the button, by the way?
I do over here.
Oh, sure,
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, so this is called Flick, and probably a big brother to Flick are the new Amazon buttons. And so Flick is just this little button control. So you can just press that button. What it'll do is allow you to connect to your smartphone and run a routine for you. And so you can actually put these, I've seen folks put these on wheelchair controllers or whatnot. So if you have an app that you'd like to do certain things and control certain things within your house or places, you can actually press this button. It'll actually run a routine on your phone to be able to do something for you, turn on a light or other kinds of things. But you can mount these directly to wheelchair controllers or other things in that person's space so they can get access to it. Same kind of activity would be the Amazon Echo buttons. And so these little buttons were designed for playing games originally, but now they allow you to use these buttons to be able to do routines. And so Josh has a routine on this one over here, our Echo Dot, so that when he gets home, we press our button.
Hey there, Joshua. It's good to have you home. Kick back and relax. It's been a long week. Let me get you a beer. Oops. Sorry about that. I just remembered I can't do that.
So
Yeah, it's supposed to grab me a beer, but Alexa can't do that yet, unfortunately. And it says bear. I never have figured that one out. Yeah, it mispronounces that word.
But I could, if I included in that routine, turn on this light or do those kinds of things, I would be able to do that all from the press of a button, rather than having to use my voice. And so,
and you can connect up to 4 of those buttons at a time to one Echo device. So if I had just 4 kind of routines that I needed to do, I could just have 4 different buttons. And without ever using my voice, without ever touching the device or even getting close to it, I could just push any of those buttons and do what I needed to do.
right.
And the iBeacon technology, which are these little guys over here, these were originally made for retail. They'd put it up next to a store or something. Whenever you got close to a store, it would send an alert, 20% off all spring wares or something like that. But where they're getting used a lot now is in places really for people with disabilities, people with visual impairments. It'll send out notifications to their smartphone to tell them what's going on. So I know that Bosma here in town uses these. If you walk up close to their cafeteria, it'll tell you what the specials are, what all they have going on. If you're walking through the building, it'll ping your phone and tell you what's coming up. On the left is these offices, on the right are these. Some museums are starting to use these. I want to say in Louisville, the Muhammad Ali Museum, I think, uses these. So if I'm blind or visually impaired, if I come up to an exhibit, I just have my phone right there in my hand and it starts telling me what the exhibit is, what it is that I'm looking at. So very cool things. And again, something that was made that isn't assistive technology that really mostly is just used for assistive technology now. But a lot of places are really starting to use these, and we're starting to see them in more and more different kinds of places.
We use these. These are called automatics. They plug into the little control in the bottom of your vehicles, where they diagnose what's wrong with your car. Usually plug a tool in up underneath your dash. These will actually plug in there for you, and it provides you kind of a dashboard on what's happening with your vehicles at all the time. We have them on all of our agency vehicles, so we can see where they are in real time. So you can do trip logging, engine lights. Just earlier this week, I got a call and it said, hey, your Dodge Grand Caravan was in a crash. And so they called me. It was a little bit like OnStar, but really we paid one fee for this. I forget exactly how much it was. It was less than $100 per module. We plugged those in, and now we have lifetime support with all of these things, helping us kind of track what's happening with our vehicles. And again, when you think a little bit more down the road, I have something that knows where my car is all the time, and now because it's producing data, I can use certain things and apps that we'll talk about here in a minute to be able to inform that data. So if I have something on my shopping list, right, I know I have something on my shopping list, I know where my car is. As I drive my car, this is now talking to my shopping list and says, hey, you're passing Kroger. Do you want to stop and get milk? Because milk's on your shopping list. Lots of things helping us better connect the information that we have, and automatic is one of the things that helps us do that. Yep, I can talk about microbot push buttons. This is kind of interesting. Go ahead and, I think we have a video with this.
There's no sound.
Is it not?
No, there's no sound.
Oh, okay. We'll not do the video. Microbot push button is interesting because we find a lot of folks, nobody wants to go out and buy new things,
Do you want to hand them around?
electronic types of things. And we've got lots of things around our houses like coffee makers that are button controlled, where you have to press a button. Well, this is just a button pusher that's connected to the internet. And so on the bottom, it's got a little round dial. You can touch the button at the very top. Press that button, it's going to go ahead and push down on whatever it's over top of. And so then you can then connect it to Alexa or other devices to be able to voice operate it or app operate to be able to press appliances that aren't smart at all. Now you just have a smart, essentially a button pusher. So Microbot push button will handle some things that aren't
Voice activated,
mainstream or newer.
maybe. And where I find that to be one of the coolest things is, for the longest time, I mean, on my side, a lot of folks are going to school, going to work, doing that. There's a lot of things you can do voice controlled on your computer, but you can't push the power button with just your voice. So having that, then with my voice, I can actually hit the power button and then control everything else with my voice. So that used to just be a giant pain in the rear, because if you're really doing independence, well, I can do everything but turn the stupid thing on. So it really, really is a cool thing.
Home Portal. Home Portal is one of those things, I think Creatability, they were here earlier today. They assist people with disabilities navigating and using the complexities of electronics and things like that. And they actually have a system designed to be able to help control a lot of these different things. So you can look up their information. You know, they have things that they're on a closed network for like microwaves and other appliances in and around the home. And then really, it's just a system to be able to connect all of these things and make them work really well together because they're connected on a controlled or closed network. And so Home Portal is one of those systems that are out there to be able to help you control your environment.
And the list just goes on and on. In fact, I think the microwave stuff like that has all come out in the last few years. So more and more and more things. And as you know, automation of vehicles and things like that starts to get bigger, you're just going to see more and more stuff be connected to the internet and be able to be controlled in different ways. I think Kylie this morning or somebody in the panel said that their thing they're looking most forward to is that autonomous vehicle, because we all know transportation can be one of the biggest challenges. So all these different things, and they just continue really almost every day to have new stuff. So the next thing are kind of apps, skills, routines, and recipes. And I'll let Brian kind of talk about some of these. But this is kind of putting all this stuff together so that we're not telling it 20 different commands to do 20 different things. We can shorten those to where we tell it to do one or two things and have it all do it all at once.
Right. And so apps, skills, routines, and recipes, these are things, if you're thinking about Echo devices, you're talking about skills and routines. If you're talking about Android devices, Google Home, those kinds of things, you're talking about recipes and apps. And so when we dig into this, I don't know if you guys can see that very well. I just thought it was interesting when I found this image talking a little bit about what all happens behind the scenes when you're using a device like that. So it just seems so instantaneous when you say something, something happens, right? I say, Alexa, turn on desk light.
Okay.
And it turns on. Well, really, what happened was it was the person in the lower left talking to the Alexa device, and which then sent that information up to the cloud. It figured out, based on what I put in my app, what to do, and then sent it back down to the switch or the control module in the back to be able to turn that thing on. So there's a whole lot that's happening, and it almost just seems instantaneous and so easy, but it's a lot more complicated if you kind of break it up into steps on what exactly happened and how it was interpreted into the cloud. And so when we think about skills and actions, we're trying to really kind of just set things up. We're trying to make things easier. And so skills and actions are those base things within the device themselves. And so you can go into your Alexa app or your Google Home app and download these skills or actions. There are tons of them. There are things for Nest cameras, and so in order for your devices to be able to operate the Nest cameras, you have to put a skill in there that tells Alexa, I have this type of device, and I want to control that type of device, and then it allows and brings in that skill or that action into whatever device you have. I've got a couple in here. I've got ours connected to iRobot, which is the Roomba over here. There's an Uber app, a Lyft app, those kinds of things, so I could actually order an Uber through Alexa if I wanted. I can do all sorts of things because I'm loading skills or actions. If I didn't have that skill or action uploaded into my device, it wouldn't know what to do with that particular command. It would give me something like, I'm not sure I understand what you're asking me to do at this moment. And so you have to be able to first and foremost get the skill or action into your device. And then once you get these skills or actions, you're able to then create routines with these. And routines give Alexa and Google Home the ability to trigger a series of actions with a single voice command. So for instance, on Friday nights, I like to go home and relax. And so I could say, Alexa, it's good to be home.
So glad you are home, Brian. Sit back, kick up your feet, and mellow out.
We'll give it a second here.
That's all the music is going to play.
Nice. It's supposed to play my music for me. Alexa, play music.
Here is Spotify.
It's having trouble with that. Alexa, turn Disco Ball off.
Okay.
But if I said, Alexa, it's good to be home, we'll try it again now.
A home, or domicile, is a living space used as a permanent or semi-permanent
Thank you.
residence for an individual,
Thank you.
family, household, or several families in a tribe. It is often a house,
Alexa,
apartment, or
stop.
other building, or alternatively a mobile home, houseboat.
Oh, you muted it,
or
Brian.
any other portable shelter. Did that answer your question?
Yes. Yes, it did. Great. If I would come home, what I have is I have it listening, my speaker listening to me. It would go out and start playing Justin Timberlake. Can't stop that feeling. It turns on the disco ball, turns on my oven to 375 degrees, and I can't tell what the other one was.
Turns on Hulu for movie night.
Turns on Hulu for a movie. And I could actually string all of those together, either with a voice command like it's good to be home, or, like I said before, these little buttons are meant to be able to create routines for you. I could just simply press a button when I got home or walked into my living room or family room to be able to run all of that for me as well. And so, real simple to be able to set up routines. And I'll show you what that looks like here. So let me come out of here, and hopefully you guys can see this. Let's go to Alexa. Up here on the screen, this is what Alexa looks like when I get into devices. And if I come over here to the menu, which is on the top left-hand corner, it's those three little lines up at the top. It's going to open up a menu system for me. About the fifth item down, you're going to find something called routines. And it allows me just to bring up this one. The top one is Alexa, it's good to be home. The next one is Alexa, start my day. The next one is tied to that button over there. But I can just hit the plus key. When I hit the plus key, it's asking me, what do you want to do? It says, do you want to add an action? And I can come in here and say, yeah, I want Alexa to ask me or tell me something, and I can type in something. I can say hello, and I'll say done, and I'll say next, and I'll say next up here. So that's my first action. The next action, I'll hit the plus key, and I'll say, I want you to turn on the fan. So I'll come down and find my fan. I want to say smart home, control a device, and I'll come down here and I'll say desk light, and I'll say next. And now that that's in there, I choose which one I want it to come from. I'll say cancel. And I got to say, when this happens, I got to give it the phrase. I'll say hello or Alexa, test 1. Can't do special characters. This. You guys see that at all?
Sort of.
Say next, and I'll hit save. And so now that I've done this, I can go ahead and unmute my microphone over here. Say, Alexa, test this out.
Say hello.
And it's supposed to turn my fan on.
No, it's supposed to turn on your desk lamp, which is already on.
Did I say desk lamp?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, that's nice. I did. That's funny. Alexa, turn desk light off.
Okay.
Let's try that again. Alexa, test this out.
Say hello.
There you go. So you created very quickly a routine, tell it what you want to say, what appliances you want to control, all of those different things, and then it should go ahead and automatically do that for you. So very quickly showing you how to create routines. You can also notice within our app, you can set up rooms. So Alexa, turn desk light off. Alexa, turn desk light off.
Okay.
Alexa, turn John off.
Okay.
And if I come here to my living room, if I go into the living room, you can kind of see everything in there. Desk light is the very top one. I've got fan, I've got John who's over here, Mike who's over there, and some other devices. I can actually just come in here and turn them on and off by myself. So I can just hit a button on here and just control it from within the app. And this is where folks who need to be able to use a switch or some other input device to be able to operate them would be able to come in and do it. Or I can go ahead and turn on the whole thing, and it would actually turn on everything for me just with an overall switch. So I can turn everything on and off by itself just using an overall command there. So I've got lots of different options to be able to split these things up. I've got all of my different things, my microwave, my lab camera. I'm going to come back in here and just go to skills and games. To kind of show you where skills are located. So if I go under my skills, this is where all my skills live. And you can kind of see the things that I put in here. So Spotify is for music. Geneva is the one that connects to my microwave over here. I've got NPR, Todoist, which is a to-do. I think you mentioned that one earlier. I love Todoist. It adds things to my to-do list. Lots and lots of different things you can do in here. Wemo are some smart plug options for you. Jeopardy, I can play Jeopardy. iRobot Home is there. ESPN, all sorts of different things. Schlage, which is our door locks, all loaded into a particular skill.
And what's nice a lot of times with skills, if you ask Alexa to do something and she knows there's a skill for it, she'll say, I can't do that, but go download this skill. So a lot of times she's smart enough to tell you exactly what you need to do, if you're not sure. And there are new ones of those coming out all the time too.
I've included a couple. I don't know if you can see those very well, but we'll make these slides available to you. But depending on what you have, Google Home or Alexa, just some different ways to be able to add these particular actions or skills to your devices. But I want to point you also to Alexa Blueprints. Alexa actually has a website where you can just download these routines or actions or skills directly to it. So they've kind of started to develop their own types of things, do different types of routines for you. And so they have a whole website dedicated to interesting routines that folks use often. So you should check that out. AlexaBlueprints.com, I believe is what it is. Then you also have this thing called If This Then That. If This Then That is an app, and that's where it kind of gets into that real sophisticated nature of things. So if I had the automatic, hold that up. If I have something on my shopping list, and I have this in my car, If This Then That would say, if I'm driving down the road up Keystone Avenue past the Kroger, it knows where I am using this device. Then I have something on my shopping list, like milk, cookies, peanut butter, those kinds of things. Then it'll actually give me a notification to say, hey, do you want to stop at the store and pick up something on your way home or as you drive by that particular place? So if this, then that kind of can tie a lot of different things together. It connects to all sorts of apps. And so I have one where if this, then that will connect my Echo device to my Todoist. So I can use the Echo, or I can use something, I can just hit with Siri on my phone to say, hey, remind me of something. And then if this, then that takes where no matter where I say a task or a reminder, it'll end up in my list over on Todoist. Because if this, then that is now connecting those kinds of things for me and allows me to really kind of pull those things together and be able to use these in a more intuitive way where it's really connecting things for you. And they have a whole list of recipes. People are designing new ones all the time. So you just log into their website, sign up for an account, and you just simply scroll. You don't have to create these on your own. These have already been created by hundreds of people who are using these all the time. You just say, I have this kind of device, and I want to do this with it, and they'll give you a whole list of things that kind of will connect the two together for you. So if this, then that's a really great way to be able to kind of connect the different types of tools you have all together. If you're looking for ways to find skills and actions, if you have one of these devices at home, assistant.google.com is where you'll find actions. Amazon.com, Alexa plus skills is where you'll find all the skills. Obviously, blueprints at Amazon.com are there. IFTTT.com is where you'll find the if this, then that. Also, you can go into the Alexa app, the Google Home app, the IFTT app as well. You can download those and search for them within the apps as well. There's a whole lot out there to be able to, again, make things easier, make things kind of float for you a little bit more intuitively between all of your devices. And I think as we kind of finish up here and talk a little bit about things that you need, I think it's really important that you have certain things. So you're going to have to get started in this area, you have to have, I think Josh mentioned it earlier, good Wi-Fi. I think it's really important to kind of know what you want to control. I think you also need to figure out and know the person a little bit, determine what the level of simplicity is for users. What will they prefer? If it's too complex, it might be too difficult for them to use, so you need to figure out how complex or how simple the routines or the things that you're going to set up or need to be. You need to talk about potential access methods. I mean, voice control is great, but not everybody has great voice control, so if they need something with switches or other types of inputs, maybe it's an iPad or a mobile device, talking through that kind of a thing. Always talk budget. Budget can kill a project right away. If they don't have the budget for a lot of different things, and in my opinion, it's always easier to start simple and then build from there. But talk about budget. What are we really trying to do, and what kind of resources do we have to put towards this? Because you may not have a lot now, but over periods of time, you can build your system step by step to get you where you want to be. The other thing would be, what are your restrictions? What's your environment? How might that be restrictive for you and be able to input some of these things? So we're in a kind of an open, cavernous kind of room, and so by using my voice to activate the Echo device, sometimes isn't going to work. Am I too far away? Am I getting a lot of background noise in my environment? What kind of restrictions does your environment put for you? I think you should compare devices as well. Make sure that you're looking at the Echo versus the Google Home and other devices out there to see which one you're getting. But I think, again, most importantly, be prepared. Initially, the setup can be kind of quick, but tweaking it can take a long time to get it just the way you want it, and to be able to have to control the things you want to control. It can be really challenging. It might take some time to get you there.
And another thing, I think Brian did say this, but keep it simple. I mean, if you need 8 different devices, if they're all made by the same brand, you might just need one app, so it can make it a whole lot easier. Whereas if you just buy the ones that are on sale every single time, you can end up with 12 different apps all communicating with each other, and it can get a lot harder.
Right. Questions you guys have about any of this stuff? How many of you guys have an Echo device? Yeah, back here.
Yes, it will.
Yeah.
Yeah, it will actually clean pretty much all of them. And I think they even make one now that will do mopping and stuff like that. The one warning is if you have a dog who isn't housebroken, do not use one because it can't tell the difference. So yeah, that is the one thing that I've heard. But other than that, no. And they get better kind of as time goes. Some of them, I don't think this one has the auto emptying. Some of them will actually go and auto empty themselves. Like they'll come up and hit it and it will empty itself so it can go. So if you have a larger home, you kind of need that. And they're smart enough to know where the stairs are so they won't go down the stairs. Or maybe they can't go up the stairs, but. Yep.
Yep. So most of them have the 3 prongs. Right. Yeah, so most of them have these. Not many of them. I haven't seen any with just 2 pronged. Most of them have the grounded.
I haven't either. And you kind of asked for a microwave or for a coffee maker. For a coffee maker, yes, because it's usually a simple switch. For a microwave, while it would be able to give power to the microwave, it wouldn't be able to do anything. Just because the microwave isn't just a simple on-off switch. With these, it pretty much has to be an on-off switch. You turn the device on, plug it into that, and then that supplies power to her or from it. So yeah, so a coffee maker, yes, but not the.
And I'll also mention these are pass-throughs as well. So if you want to control your light, there's actually a switch on the side. So if your internet goes out for some reason, you can actually still press the buttons to be able to turn it on or off. And once it's on, you can turn off using the switch within the light bulb too. So.
And you can kind of set little parameters through the app, so if you want your lights to come on at a certain time of day, I don't know if anyone else ever used to have the little tiny timer ones for when you went on vacation, and then the time changes and they're not right, or it gets light, stays light for 4 more hours, they come on at 5, it's not dark till 9, and they're a pain, and then you have to get behind the couch and find them. Those are really good for that too. And I think they're actually cheaper than those little guys used to be.
And you can control them anywhere you are. You can be in Florida, and through the app, because you're connected to the internet in Florida and your devices are connected to the internet here in Indiana, you can simply press buttons in the app to turn those things on and off.
Brian's daughters can never have a party while he's on vacation.
That's right. I know everything
Between
that's
the
going on,
cameras,
for
the
sure.
phones, everything else in the kitchen,
Yeah.
never having a party. Did you? See, there you go.
Other questions? Great question, yeah. Yeah.
This is really specific, but one of the things that I get asked for a lot is a push button on the door. And it's like $5,000 to do one of the.
Open, so yeah.
Have you heard about anything new? I was thinking those little buttons that you have would be perfect if, just for the person who needs it, to be able to use it.
As far as push buttons for the door, because really the expensive part is the device opening the door. Yeah. And that's kind of, and I think, the Open Sesame system, but it's still $1,000, a couple $1,000.
One of those devices,
and that's the most expensive part of it, is the actual, I haven't.
Right. Yeah, great question though. Other questions about any of that? Okay. I wanted to talk just a little bit about funding sources. Here's 4 of them that you may be able to tap into. Voc Rehab, it's got to be employment related. And so Voc Rehab is all about
But isn't
employment,
everything
vocational
employment
outcomes,
related?
But must be employment related. Home and community-based waiver programs. Because of Tech First and other places, that's becoming a resource, I think, for folks to be able to kind of use some of their waiver funds to be able to purchase some of this types of technologies, or should be, depending on whenever they get to where they should be with what's out there. So think about that stuff. Disability-specific organizations like ALS Association, other places like that. And then again, alternative financing programs. Again, INDATA has one of those here in Indiana, but every state project has one of those as well. They provide state financing.
And another one that's not on there is the VA also. Could be.
VA,
If the person
absolutely.
is a veteran, sometimes they'll cover some things like this to be able to help them be more independent as well. So. Oh, that's it. Oh, it's so much better.
I think just to kind of put a bow on it a little bit, this stuff is readily available. I think it's important for folks as they look at this stuff, as they talk to families about this kind of technology, it's a lot it can do. It's easy to kind of, once you start showing folks this kind of thing, it's like, oh, I've got a million things I think I can do with this stuff. Well, as you can even see from today, some things worked pretty well, some things didn't. You really kind of need to really set the expectations with folks about what that can and can't do, because it's really dependent upon the person and what their abilities are. It's dependent upon the location and the environment they're going to be located in. It's going to be dependent upon the budget that you have to be able to put and what kind of devices you can purchase to put into a place for them. So there's a lot of variables that go into this stuff. And so I think one of the hesitations I always have with technology and promoting technology is people's eyes get as big as saucers when they see some of the things that these things can do. Well, it's not for everybody, right? And so you have to have something that's really kind of, should be tailored to them and their specific needs, what they need. And then always, I don't care what it is, everything should be followed up with training. You have to spend the time with the family training them on how to use it, because as you mentioned, and I find the same thing, I go out and I meet with folks all the time. I say, hey, I'm here to do an AT evaluation. They say, well, man, I just had one a couple years ago. And I said, well, great, show me your stuff. What do you have that maybe we can use some of it? And it's like, oh, it's in the closet. And it's like, oh, you're killing me. And it's because they were given all these great tools, but no one ever took the time to really dig in deep with them on how to train them to use it. And so not just the person with the disability, but families, supports, the people who are going to be there in the home, DSPs in this situation, spend time with them, teach them how to use this stuff, and make it work well for them, because I think that's what's going to carry it on for you down the road, and making sure that it's really applicable, it's really being used for that particular person. So, yeah.
That's great. Thank you guys for staying late today. I know it's Friday, and it's halfway decent out there, but thank you guys so much. And thank you, Dustin.
Yeah.
Thanks, brother. Thank you.
Absolutely.